scheduled meeting of the Finance Committee. We are going to be meeting jointly with Public Facilities, but we're going to start that portion of our evening a little bit later on the agenda. I will go over and explain that in a second. Let me first introduce the counselors who are present at the start of the meeting. Let's see, we have from the Finance Committee, Councillor Oliver from Ward 1. I don't see Councillor Martin. I do see Councillor Malachy from Ward 3. I think Councillor Gentile is not yet here. Is that right? Okay, Councillor. Oh, he is. Where are you, Councillor Gentile? Oh, there you are. Okay, Councillor Gentile from Ward 4.
Left.
Got you. Well, not on my screen, but that's okay. Councillor Humphrey from Ward 5. I thought I saw Councillor Noel on here from Ward 6. Yes. And then Councillor Kalis, Vice Chair of the committee from Ward 8. So we're only missing one. And then additional councillors who are not on the Finance Committee. I see Councillor Kelly. And that is all for right now. Any councillors who I missed, please unmute and say something. Great. So we do have a few very significant items that we're taking up jointly with Public Facilities tonight. Many of you who are on the screen know that the Zoning and Planning Committee is also meeting right now, beginning at 7 o'clock. And they have about a half an hour's worth of business that they need to handle. And a number of members on the Public Facilities Committee are also on the Zoning and Planning Committee. So for that reason, we're going to spend approximately the first half hour of our meeting taking up just the finance items, and we will convene the joint portion with Public Facilities when those members from Zoning and Planning are able to join us. Are there any questions about the approach to managing the agenda this evening? Okay, we are going to start then with item 378-23. Her Honor, the Mayor requesting authorization to appropriate $15,000 for elections postage in the city clerk's office. Ms. Flynn, are you going to present this tonight?
Yes, I'm here to present. So as you just said, we're requesting $15,000 for election postage. We did go over with our vote by mail for all of our elections this year. I want to give you a few numbers. We mailed in the last election, we mailed out approximately 14,000 ballots. About 8,000 were returned to us, and there was approximately 48,000 people who voted 48% of the voters voted by mail. And we're going to see more of an increase in this as we increase our usage of vote by mail. And we will be asking during our budget time next year for an increase in this line item.
Do we have comments or questions on this item? Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just briefly, so if we, excuse me, we mailed out 14,000 ballots, we got 8,000 of them back. We paid postage for the 14,000 out. We don't prepay the envelopes coming back? Question mark?
So we get those envelopes from the state. So I believe that they pay for the postage on the way back. But we do have to pay for the postage for it to go out. It gets metered in our mailroom.
Okay, so the city pays for the return. No, sorry, the 14,000 going out. The state pays for the 8,000 being returned.
I believe so. I'd have to double check on that, but I believe it's because the state's the one that provides us with those envelopes.
Okay, and then just out of curiosity, is that percentage returned roughly on par with what we've seen for the past couple of years? In terms of, rate coming back?
Yes.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I had, Madam Chair, and I'm happy to move approval here for, we're not ready. Never mind.
No, I just have a quick question.
I'll still take it as a motion to approve, and we will continue discussing till everybody's ready to vote. Councillor Kalis.
Ms. Flynn, so 48% came back? Is that right?
Well, 48% of the people who voted in the last election voted by mail. We had 14,000 ballots that went out, 8,000 that came back.
Okay,
So it's around 40%-ish. It's less
yeah,
than,
it's just
oh,
so.
no, I'm lying. Sorry, that's over half.
Yeah.
So
That's
maybe
over half.
55, almost 60%, sorry.
That's
Yes,
just- that's
it's
just
about
really-
57%.
Thank you, okay.
I just didn't realize it was so high that people did that, but it's good to know, so thank you. That's it.
Okay, any other comments, questions, or discussion on this item? We have a motion to approve by Counselor Oliver. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? That's 7-0. Thanks, Miss Flynn.
Thank you.
We're going to skip the next two items on the agenda for now. We'll come back to them later. We're going to go to 418-23, the acceptance of $174,910 from the Department of Justice's Office of Community Policing Services. I saw Sergeant McMains on here.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome. We'd love to have you review this item with us.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you for considering this grant opportunity. This opportunity grant was applied for by Captain Spaulding prior to his passing earlier this year, in conjunction with folks he met while he was at the FBI National Academy. This grant is in conjunction with a company called Dedicated to Community, which is an organization started up by Quentin Williams, who went to Boston College. He had other ties in Massachusetts. And essentially what this is, it's our police officers are going to go through training if we're awarded this grant in conjunction with members of the community that we are able to garner support from to join us in this effort, as well as officers from surrounding communities if we can get them involved as well. This grant covers approximately $115,000 for the fees for the class. Community members will not be charged a fee, but law enforcement will be. Another $59,000 and some change is going to cover overtime that will be needed to pay for officers to attend this. At the end, we hope to have 100% of our officers go through this training to deal with mainly how we deal with the public, how we garner or build rapport with different community members, how we build bridges and outreaches to different parts of our community to help them work in conjunction with us solving crimes, dealing with issues that pop up in our community, etc. One of the issues that we have, this is a very ambitious grant. Again, this is going to run from March until July. The plan originally started out as 30 officers per month over 2 days. So it's 2 8-hour trainings. We're right now experiencing some staffing issues, as the council may or may not be aware of. I don't know at the end of the day if we're going to be able to meet all the requirements of staffing for this grant, but we do want to get it out there. It's early on. The chief has made every effort to ensure that we're able to comply with the needs of this grant and the requirements. But at this point, again, it's up in the air, but we will keep the council apprised of any issues that pop up along the way. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Sergeant, when you say that there will be difficulty complying with the staffing as dictated by the grant, you're talking about the requirements of accepting and utilizing the money, or are you talking about the staffing requirements that we have as a city?
The staffing of the police officers to fill the amount of officers that they recommend for the grant. Again, they're going to meet 2 days per week. Each day they want 15 officers to dedicate 8 hours of their time to do the training. It's not so much the overtime. This is covered by the grant. It's just whether we have officers available to even do that. We have staffing issues popping up now. We have in-service training. We're trying to deploy tasers, a couple other things that require our training, our time. And unfortunately, there's only so many hours in a day, in a month, et cetera. So again, we're working with Dedicated to Community to come up with a plan to see how we get around that and make this successful.
Okay, and apologies, I misspoke your title, superintendent. So I apologize for that.
No problem at all. I answered.
Do we have comments or questions from the committee beyond that first question? Superintendent, could you just spend a minute talking about how this training will fit in with the overall profile of the training program that the department is running right now?
I think with Chief Carmichael, we've been really stressing community policing, community outreach. We've enlarged our community outreach footprint. We've gotten to social media. The part that we're really missing is getting a good connection with the public. And one of the things that we talked about early on, I think it was last year or the year before, was a Citizens Police Academy. That way we can get the public in to meet our police officers, find out what we do. This is really a way to get that portion of the community outreach, as well as getting the public in and us to meet with different people and again build up that relationship with the community. This goes again to pretty much everything the chief has talked about since he's come here with 21st century policing, where we build trust and relationships with the community.
Okay, thank you. We have a number of questions. Just before I go to them, I just want to take a moment to remember Captain Spaulding. You mentioned him earlier, and to say that we're all deeply saddened by his loss is an understatement. And I know how deeply impactful his work, his friendship, who he was to his colleagues and to our entire community. We're certainly remembering him and thinking of his family. So thank you for mentioning his work when you introduced this item.
Thank you, Counselor.
Counselor Oliver, followed by Counselor Noel.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious, if if it's recommended that we have 15 officers, 8 hours a day, right? And we think we're gonna have a challenge doing that here in Newton. I'm assuming then it's just the timeline of the training that would extend. It's not that we're putting the entire grant in jeopardy or the program in jeopardy. It'll just take longer to get X number of officers through the process. Yes,
and again, this grant really requires us to work with Dedicated to Community, that organization. That organization works nationwide with other police departments, other campus polices, sheriff's departments with this same exact training. So it's coordinated the training with them as well.
All right, great. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Counselor.
Counselor Noel, followed by Counselor Maliki.
Thank you. Just a clarifying question. It sounded like the comment was if we get this grant, but we've already received it, right? And this is a formality to accept it, but you all have been awarded it according to the document, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, excellent. That's exciting. And so is this a national program?
This is a national program, yes. And again, Captain Spaulding learned about this. This is one of the courses he took at the FBI National Academy, taught by Quentin Williams. And Quentin Williams is doing outreach throughout the country and probably internationally in some places as well. Again, building these relationships with the public.
Sure. So, and I noticed on the backup documentation, there wasn't much about the content, which I can probably understand, like you don't know the content yet because you haven't been in the training. I'm just thinking out loud that, that communities are, you've seen one community, that there's uniqueness probably to building bridges in Newton and, in New England for that matter. Do you know anything in terms of specializing components to be distinct to the different communities?
So I know what the plan is. Part of the plan is here, and one of that is to do a community survey prior to the kickoff of this program, so the group of Dedicated to Community can kind of get to know the community. As I said, Quentin Williams was a BC student, went here for 4.5 years. He knows parts of the community better than other parts, and really, it's about when we set up to build these classroom sessions where we bring the citizens in or the public in to really participate. I think that's how we get to know each other, and that's how we get to know what the community's wants and needs are related to this training.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Maliki, followed by Counselor Gentile.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to clarify what's the time commitment for the officer, or how does it work, is it 2 8-hour days a week for 8 weeks, or did I get that right?
It's going to be 2 days a month. Each officer is dedicating 8 hours of training. So we do 15 officers per day, 30 per month, and it's going to be approximately for 5 months.
Okay, so they're doing 8 hours per month spread out over,
Over 5 months, March through July.
okay, and so is it broken up? So it's not solid days, or they're working it into their work schedule?
It would be on overtime, yes. It would have to be outside of their schedule.
Okay, okay, so not like an 8-hour work shift and then 8 hours all at once. It would be an 8-hour work shift and a couple of hours or something.
No, it would be an 8-hour work shift and then 8 hours of training, maybe on their day off or
Okay,
after their shift, or likely this is most of our night officers. That affects a lot of our officers. So it'd likely be on a day off or on one of their short or long days where they work a midnight shift. Before that, they can work a day shift, et cetera.
okay. And how does the composition work with Newton officers versus officers from other towns versus members of the public? Is there a sort of a optimal composition, or which would we be picking from surrounding towns like Waltham, Watertown, Wellesley, or how would
Yeah,
that work?
I think originally the grant suggested Boston, Watertown, Waltham, Weston, Wellesley, LaSalle, Boston College, all the communities that kind of surround us. And really the composition is 15 police officers from Newton, 5 police officers from surrounding cities and towns and universities, and 10 volunteers from the community. And that's for each and every class.
Okay, and would the volunteers be the same class after class, or the different people coming in for different sessions?
Yeah, different groups of people for each session. Each day is one entire session. Once that day is done, that whole training is done for those officers, those civilians, and then we'd move on to the next group and train them.
And how will the volunteers be recruited, or kind of ensure like a youthful representative sample? Or
Yeah.
is it targeting certain groups or age groups or whatever that you're trying to build bridges with?
I would suggest we'd likely reach out to the city council to see if they have recommendations. We've reached out to the Human Rights Commission already. I'm sure we'd be reaching out to the schools. We'll be reaching out to the communities, different organizations in the community, the houses of worship, Forge, groups like that, to see if they would like to get involved.
Okay, thank you. And would this
Oh,
be?
maybe. Or is it addressed to Adam?
Oh, can I just ask? Okay, thank you.
Would this be in addition to any plans to have a Citizens Police Academy again?
No, we absolutely want to continue that. It's just a matter of when we do that, how we make it work for everybody involved.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Gentile.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that I understood the staffing issue correctly. I didn't get the impression that we were short officers right now for whatever reason, and that it was more that there's so many things going on within the police department and a number of initiatives that's the issue. Did I get that right?
It's a little bit of both, Counselor. We are right now down 13 officers. We're getting ready to put on a class of 7. They won't be graduated until probably May, and then they have to go through a 10-week FTO program. So talking the end of fall before those 7 officers are out on the street. So that, in conjunction with in-service, with TASER training, with a few other initiatives the chief has planned, it really takes up a lot of our time.
So how many FTEs are there? I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head how many, would be a full complement of police officers these days. How many you approve for?
We're budgeted for 149.
149, and you're saying right now you're like around 136?
That's correct.
And is that mostly a function of when the, classes are offered?
It's kind of a host of a number of issues. It's every year we put on 7 or 8 officers. Every year we lose 3 or 4 officers. This year we had the passing of Captain Spaulding. We had 2 officers resign. We had 2 officers retire. That took up the complement of 6 officers we put on earlier this year. it's a task to get people to come sign up. We just had a recent new test, so we have to wait for those scores to come out, et cetera. So it's a whole host of reasons why our staffing issues are the way they are. Ideally, we'd love to be fully staffed, but it seems like we're really fighting against the tide every year to make that happen.
Okay. Well, I wish you the best. I mean, that's pretty low. I mean, I know you always struggle to keep up with the number of approved offices, but it's surprising to hear that you're down that many.
We're working on getting more people to come, but it's recruitment. And this isn't just us. This is nationwide for police officers, for dispatchers, for DPW workers. I mean, I think it's happening everywhere, unfortunately.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
Okay, I don't see any other hands. Is there any other discussion or a motion on this item?
I'm happy to move it.
Motion to approve by Counselor Oliver. Any further discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, 7-0. Thank you very much, Superintendent.
Thank you, counselors. Appreciate your time.
Our next item is 373-23, acceptance of $190,000 from Mass DOT's Community Transit Grant Program for fiscal year 24. Mr. Ostroff, welcome. Would you like to introduce this for us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pleased to do so. Josh Ostroff, Director of Transportation Planning. Councilors, this is the 5th year that you have been asked to accept grant program funds from Mass DOT for the Community Transit Grant Program. Over the years, the first year was 100,000. It's ranged from 125 to 200,000. This is the second year in a row. It's been 190. These grants are specifically to support seniors and riders with disabilities who currently are the majority of our riders using Numo. We're really honored to have the maximum award provided by Mass DOT, and I just add that Numo is looked at as a model by other communities seeking to provide transportation for their transit-dependent residents. So, as I say, this is targeted for seniors and folks with disabilities. We are hard at work looking for additional grant funding to provide to restore Numo to the level that it was earlier this year. We feel that's very important to the community, but that's really not before the committee today. We're just seeking your approval of acceptance of these funds for the current fiscal year. Glad to answer any questions at all. I know your time is short, so I'm.
Thank you. I think it would be helpful if you would spend a moment and let us know what the financial picture of Numo is. We had heard throughout the last year that at some point we were going to get a little bit of an update and a download on the financial state of affairs, and we haven't. So I think it would be helpful if you could.
Oh, sure. Yeah, glad to do so. And I don't mean to forestall that. I just know that you're looking at the clock for tonight. So, and we'd be glad. Yeah, we'd be glad to come back and answer any additional questions. But for now, I will say that Numo is at a level that causes me concern as one of the people who gets calls from riders, because we have had to reduce eligibility and reduce the number of cars and drivers on the road, but it's still a critical service for many of our most vulnerable residents, seniors, people with low income, people with disability. So we're providing in the range of 3,000 or so rides a month. That's about half what it was earlier. I don't have the exact annualized budget, but it's in the range of 600 or so, and it was previously about double that. So we are very hopeful that we will be able to get full funding to bring Numo back to what it was earlier, and we're at work now on a very promising grant application to supplement the other grants. As councilors may know, we are supporting Numo with $275,000 from the annual budget since its inception, targeted for senior transportation. So right now, we look at it from two different ways: the financial picture, and of course we're constrained in what we can provide, in city government, we're constrained, obviously, for all services, but and then the operational, we are currently, I feel we've got a great system. It's an outstanding model. It's very flexible. It provides the, on paper, the kind of service we need in order to get people to medical appointments, to social engagements, to school, and so forth. Speaking, strictly of the cohorts that we're serving. We are challenged, as I said at the outset, because of the lack of drivers that we're able to afford. And we see that in some of the dashboard metrics that we can get access to. The number of unmatched rides, that's just a way of saying when, 1 out of 10 people that call or use the app, they sometimes can't get a ride in the time frame that they need. So we're constantly working with the provider in order to adjust the service to get the most out of the resources that we have. That means things like having people call ahead the day before. But the reality, Madam Chair and members, is that when we only have 5 or 6 cars on the road, just having one vehicle unavailable can have a ripple effect. So this, as one of the few people that handles these calls directly, I feel this very acutely when people can't get their service. I hear about it right away, and that's why we're constantly struggling to make sure, get the most out of it. I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to come back in the coming months with a more comprehensive picture of where we're at, and that it will be a public transportation shared ride service that's worthy of the people that you serve. So that's like a broad brush approach. I think that what the council is due is a more comprehensive update with some of the metrics that I've just spoken to here, the specific sources of funding and how we're being spent. But the real headline is that this week we are receiving proposals. We put this service out to bid. The current contract is expiring in 2024, so we needed to test the market whether we wanted to or not. So we have designed a service that we feel is scalable. It'll provide the service that we have now, but then be able to get it back to where we want it to be. So a number of different companies have attended a bidders conference. We look forward to receiving proposals and purchasing this week and evaluating them next week, and then having a recommendation for how we would go forward. So I think microtransit is critical for Newton and some other suburban communities where you don't have the density to support fixed route service, but you do have a substantial portion of the population that is transit dependent. You may know that most Numo riders are below 80% AMI. In fact, 40% were below 50% AMI, and that was before we scaled the service back. So we really don't have what's called in transit choice riders. We have transit dependent riders here. It is a vital for them that we be able to provide the service. There aren't other models out there. The taxi industry is gone. Veterans taxi, that was then. You all know this. So I'm hopeful that we will have a better picture to paint. I can't promise you that until we see the numbers, until we see the results of the grants that we're applying for today. But we've really been able to leverage taxpayer dollars to provide a great service. Without sugarcoating it, I speak to angry riders all the time. That's the reality. I'm glad to answer any questions at all. Thank you.
Sure. So thank you. Mr. Yo, I saw you had your hand raised. Did you want to add something, or did Mr. Ostroff cover it?
Hi, good evening. Yes, he covered it. I think one of the key things is that we have put it out to bid, and we'll be getting proposals in very shortly. And really the focus is with the new program coming up will be on senior transportation. And as Josh said, we're going to try to figure out if it can be scalable to cover other groups, but really the focus is going to be on senior transportation. We're going to be looking at different models, and we're hopeful that we'll get some different kinds of bidders to look at some different options for the city going forward. We do only have a limited city budget, which we have not exceeded. We've been reliant on grant funds and mitigation funds over the last 2 years, with a very successful program. But at this point, we have a limited budget, and we're going to focus on senior transportation and we're going to see what the market bears in terms of options. So you'll be hearing lots more about this in the very near future. Thank you.
Madam
Thank
Chair, could I just add, I want to thank Mignon Murray, the Senior Services Director, and her amazing staff. This is a great partnership between planning and senior services, and we meet with VIA all the time. There's dozens of emails a week, and then we have a couple of meetings with their staff to try to just adjust the service and address the inevitable demands, concerns that come up providing transportation. So I know Mignon is here, so I just wanted to thank her and her team.
Thank you very much. Counselor Kalis and Counselor Maliki for questions.
So I'm going to move approval when the time is right. And then I want to let you know that the last vote was 8-0. I did see Emily Norton on there, and she's back and she's on still. So I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. I did see her and then I lost her. So Counselor Norton, welcome. Up there you are. Okay. So our last vote, I'm sure Mr. Cudmore will correct that record. Thanks, Counselor Kalis. Anything else on this?
That's it.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve by Counselor Kalis. Counselor Maliki.
Yeah, could you just elaborate a little on what you mean by scalable? I mean, I take it to mean, can you multiply it and increase the capacity, but why would something not be scalable versus scalable?
Thank you for that question. Through you, Madam Chair, we just mean, just as you said, that as we are able to provide more capacity, we would have, open it up more. If we needed to adjust fares, we can do that. If we needed to, or had the opportunity to provide a greater benefit by serving another community, we would consider that as well. And I just mentioned that because frequently our riders want to go to medical facilities in Wellesley, Needham, Waltham, and so on. So there may be ways in which, to combine forces, we could get more bang for the buck. But that's the nature of the RFP, is that it gives us some of those options. We never replicate the MBTA, but we obviously want to, do what's right for Newton. I hope that's helpful.
So basically, you could be looking to not just expand the number of people served or the hours, but it could be a geographical expansion or something like that. Okay.
There's a number of different ways we might seek to go.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, and that flexibility is important, as well as the track record of the proposers.
All set, Counselor Maliki? Okay, thank you. Do we have other comments or questions by members of the committee? I just have one more for you, Mr. Ostroff. So just in looking at the math and getting to the $600,000 budget, obviously this is a pretty substantial grant combined with the $275,000 from the city budget, and we have another item in mitigation funds after this. I know you said you're still looking for grants to get up to the previous level. Does this grant bring you up to the $600,000 level, or are we still missing pieces of that pie?
This helps support the service that we have now. This is for the current fiscal year, so this is a critical part of it. But we have other grants that are in the works. I'm always nervous about quoting numbers when I don't have the spreadsheet right in front of me, and I just rebooted my computer that has all that on it. So, but yes, this is going to support our current level, but it will help us increase it to get up to 7 vehicles, if and when the time allows. But we were sort of going to see with any service like this, you want to sustain it so that we need to make sure we can afford it, month over month. And until we see what the numbers come in at, this week and next, we need to know what can we afford to do, for the years to come. I don't feel like I'm giving you this.
Well, but this is, you feel confident that you can sustain the level right now?
Sure. Yes,
vehicles.
Absolutely. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes. The short answer, yes.
I appreciate it. We'll definitely look forward to the new year to getting an update and drill down into sort of where the plan is going from here. I think we all recognize this has been one foot in front of the other kind of a situation with putting the finances together, and certainly think the support is there from certainly this group, at least what I'm reading from my colleagues, and figuring this out and clearly supporting the transportation needs of seniors. But the financial picture has always been kind of murky, and I think having ongoing dialogue and understanding where we're at and where we're headed will be important. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion to approve by Counselor Kalis. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, I just received an update that ZAP has finished their first item and they have a number of quick appointments. So since they're still going, I think we should go on to our next related NUMO item, which is 272-23, authorization to expend $33,333 in transportation mitigation funds on NUMO operation from the 15 Riverdale Avenue development. Mr. Ostroff, do you want to speak to this as well?
Happy to do so, Madam Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
this is similarly a multi-year, although it's not a grant, it is mitigation from the Riverdale development as indicated. And the council will see a similar request to accept funding in the coming months for the same amount, actually $1 more. It's a total of $100,000. This was dedicated to NUMO because their first inclination to support the Watertown TMA couldn't provide the service that they needed. So we have steered mitigation funds towards NUMO since its inception. It's not sustainable in that it's not like recurring revenue, but it is vital. And even though it's a small amount, it's critical to provide. So happy to answer questions. I think the documentation kind of speaks to that.
It does, and we've had this item obviously once before, and we will have it again one more time.
In the spring, I think, yeah.
Okay, so do we have comments, questions, or discussion on this item? Do we have a motion on this item?
I move approval.
Motion to approve by Counselor Kalis. Any last discussion before we vote? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So that's an 8-0 vote. Okay, so Mr. Ostroff, thank you very much. I think that takes care of everything you have on our agenda tonight. Is that right?
It for me personally, yes. I know you have more to do. I'm available with any questions about this item offline, so feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me just check in with my finance colleagues here. We do have an item that would where it would be appropriate to entertain a motion to go into executive session. The zoning and planning members say they are on their way. So that said, I think we should take a 2-minute pause and let them join and save the executive session item for the end of the agenda. Any objections to that from members of the Finance Committee? Okay. So if everybody just wants to hang on a sec, I see that President Albright has joined. I see Councilor Laredo.
Counselor Wright is here.
Councilor Wright.
Counselor Leary is here.
Councilor Leary, Chair of the Public Facilities Committee, is here. Just giving folks one more sec to join. Okay, so we've got Councilor Leary, Laredo. Do we have Crossley and Danberg? Not yet.
I think they'll be joining very shortly. The meeting was just finishing.
Okay, so do you want to give one more minute, Chair Leary?
Yeah, I think we could give one more minute. Chair Grossman, have you gone through all the finance items?
Yes, with the exception of the last item on our agenda, in which I expect we will entertain a motion to go into executive session and then likely adjourn from there. So everything else on the finance agenda has been taken care of.
Crossley has arrived.
What's that?
Crossley has arrived.
Oh, Crossley has arrived. How about Danberg?
Don't see her.
Oh. We were all at the same meeting.
I'm sure she'll be here in just a second.
Not everyone has the same commute though, from one meeting to the other.
Actually, I think everybody does.
Oh, wait, you're right. We do.
Why don't we get started? I'm sure Councilor Danberg will join in a second. So at this point, I'd like to convene the joint part of the meeting. Obviously, Counselor Leary, I've already mentioned all the folks, the members of your committee, but if you want to say anything official to kick off.
I won't need to say anything official. We just have 2 items that we're discussing jointly. I thought that I already had my last PF meeting, so I was surprised that it was one more. So as long as you've introduced members of the committee already, why don't we just go right into it?
Yep, and I think we should. Let's go to 374-23, which is Her Honor the Mayor requesting authorization to appropriate and expend $3 million for the dredging of the City Hall ponds.
Are you going out of order, Chair Grossman? Or did
Oh,
you?
that's the first one on the agenda, but would you rather take up
right.
account first?
No, I was looking at the elections, but I see that's just finance, right?
Yes, we already took care of that item.
You already took care of that? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. I apologize for the interruption.
Oh, nope, no problem. Okay, so let's go to the City Hall ponds item. Mr. Yo, on your end, who is going to introduce the item for us? I think I saw, is it Commissioner, is
Commissioner McGonigal or Deputy Commissioner?
I see Commissioner
I am
McGonigal.
here,
Oh, there you
Madam
are.
Chair.
Oh, okay, there we go. Thank you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this request is for $3 million for the dredging of the City Hall ponds, which has been the CIP for the last 4 years. We did start permitting this prior to the pandemic. During the pandemic, all permitting through the Army Corps of Engineers, which is one of the major permits we need to accomplish this work, along with the DEP, came to a screeching halt. We did receive our final permitting in early 2022. So we went forward and put this out to bid. The last time we did dredge the City Hall ponds was in 2013. And the cost then was $450,000. When we received our bids in 2022, the low bid came in at $2.7 million, with the high bid over $4 million. So really having a hard time grasping that, and even our engineers not sure why the price escalation was so high as it was. We rejected all the bids. Did some research on our end. That the main, there's a couple factors here. One of the main factors is the disposal of the material, the DEP. Normally this material is used for coverage in landfills when they're capping landfills. That there are not many landfills left in the state, as we all know, with the trash disposal issues that we're seeing. So it's really escalated the price of the disposal for this material. And also the number of contractors that are now doing this type of work is limited also due to the permitting that needs to be done, the environmental protections that need to be in place while this work is ongoing. So it's a limited number of contractors also. So we did rebid recently. This time we only received 2 bidders. The low bid was $2.5 million. And the second bidder was $4.2 million. So again, seeing pretty close to what we saw over a year ago when we did first bid this. But we did see a decrease in the price of a few $100,000. We are asking for $3 million. That includes a 20% contingency, which we would ask for in any project like this. Happy to take any questions that anyone has on that.
Okay, thank you. And colleagues on the finance, well, actually in both committees, we did receive some additional information today, which is not part of the packet. If anybody didn't have a chance to see it, we could certainly ask for it to be shared on the screen. We do have 3 hands up. Councillor Norton, then Maliki.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner, for that information. That was going to be my first question, is what happened to the cost? So sounds like we did the best we could. Sounds like going into the dredging business would be a good idea, lucrative business. Wanted to ask if because I didn't see anything in the background materials about this. Would this project have made a difference if it had already been done in the flooding related to the library on August 8th?
Most likely not, no. This will help with flooding. A great example is what we just saw overnight. We had 3 inches of rain in a 12-hour period. There was no flooding in the library parking lot at all. I was there all night because it was over a longer period of time. When we had flooding recently in the parking lot, we had 3 inches of rain in less than 90 minutes. The entire system was surcharged. So there wouldn't any work that we would have done. We just didn't have the capacity to handle that type of that amount of rain in that short period of time. But
this dredging, would that help with a similar storm in the future?
Dredging will help, most definitely. It will help. But again, if we see 3 inches of rain in that period of time, we're still going to have flooding. It may have happened a little later, but again, just because everything was surcharged throughout the system. The capacity at the City Hall ponds would increase too with this dredging. Wouldn't have really helped in that scenario, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Malachy, followed by Councillor Lear. You're muted, Councillor Malachy.
Sorry about that. For the commissioner, so I guess it wouldn't have helped the library situation because the water's not going to go backwards back to where it came from. But it could possibly help downstream.
Correct. It would definitely make a difference. The other issue is if we don't clean the silt out from the City Hall ponds, it just ends up downstream. So again, if we don't do this, we'll see more debris ending up in Bullows Pond and just downstream.
Mm-hmm. And has so this is about, what are we, 3 years later than we would have liked to do it?
Oh, more than that.
That's correct.
And is that accounting for any significant increase in the amount of silt we expect to collect?
We're anticipating we may see a couple 100 yards. Last time we did this, it was about 11 years since it had been done previously, and we removed 3,600 yards of material, 3,600 cubic yards. We've estimated, we've allowed for 3,700 this time, so another 100 cubic yards.
And do we know where it's going, or is that entirely up to the contractor? Is that it? Basically, is the disposal part of it already taken care of?
Yes, so essentially it will be going to one of the landfills that this contractor actually runs. So hence the low bid on their end, most likely. But this material all has to be documented, and the DEP requires it all to go into one location. And everything has to be documented from the time it left to the time it went there and where it was used in the landfill.
So the DEP actually wants it to only go to one location that gets kept track of, rather than sending some here and some there.
Yeah. Correct. And that's what we looked into, because it would be much easier to dispose of if we could have used multiple sites, or even used it to mix with other material, because it's really not extremely hazardous.
Yeah, I recall at one point there was some thought of putting it at Crescent Street, which sounded not like a good idea. The reference to daily cover, does that mean at a landfill they put in trash, they cover some, they put in another layer of trash, they put in some more
Yes,
silt?
correct.
And is this a landfill that's going to keep going for what, years, decades, or are we going to have a problem in 10 years?
I don't know the history or the future of this landfill. I'm sure we could ask and find out if you'd like that information.
It might not be your problem, but it might be our problem in general as a city. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Leary, then Councillor Gentile.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. I've actually spoken with you over the last few years about the dredging of the pond, because I was really noticing, it was filling up quite a bit. And then we ran into all those problems with the costs going up. And so I wanted to actually start thinking about, well, first my question is, will the contractor or another agency test the soil for any possible contaminants, heavy metals, or other types of thing you might find in stormwater runoff?
Yes, the material will be, we have already tested it twice. We did extensive testing when we were looking for other areas to take this material. So, but we also have to do it as we're removing the material also. There's specifications that require the testing from the DEP.
And if you run into some substances that aren't appropriate for cover, would you have to send it someplace else because of its toxicity?
Yes, anything that tested outside of the parameters that we have, that's why we asked for the contingency here. That's really the unknown, but again, we did do more extensive testing and we feel fairly confident we won't have that issue. But again, we have to test material as we're removing it throughout the process.
Okay, that's good to know. And I think Councillor Maliki was thinking along the same lines that I was in terms of the long-term planning, because I'm quite sure we won't have any more landfills in the state of Massachusetts, probably much less than 10 years, probably 2 or 3. I'm sure if we asked our Juanita Trabert, she would give you a more specific answer about that. So I was just thinking it would be to talk about long-term planning, because how are we going to manage this in another 10 years? Or even better yet, can we be more proactive? Are there ways to reduce the amount of silt and runoff that's going here? Can it be captured in other ways? Or is there any other possibility of managing it rather than dredging it every 10 years and having this huge problem, which is only going to get worse?
Yes. So again, this is a lot of our stormwater work that any water we can infiltrate into the ground will help minimize this. And we've done this at the library. That first inch of rainfall, which is 90 to 95% of our storms, is infiltrated into the ground. So that project will help with this. Also, we've asked our consultant, as the DEP permit this permit we have now will allow us to remove sediment in the near future. So we're looking into seeing if smaller amounts will be easier to dispose of and less costly. So this may be a yearly maintenance item going forward. We'll be investigating that this year, and I'm sure we'll be back to you with our findings and probably some funding needed.
Oh, great. I'm really glad to hear that you're thinking about it in a different way. One last question. What do you do with all the frogs and turtles in there?
That's our Conservation Commission will be there. Again, it is impactful, and that's another reason the permitting is an extensive process, and that's costly also.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to mention that there was quite a bit of flooding at the Pearl Street and Jackson Road today in front of the Lincoln Elliott School, which I had never noticed before. I don't know.
Yeah, this time of year we had a lot of leaves. That when you get a significant amount of rain, if you look at every catch basin this afternoon, you could see most of them were plugged with leaves, and we'll be going around cleaning those. We had crews opening up wherever we had areas of ponding overnight.
Yeah, we were lucky we didn't have the kind of storm we had on August 8th.
Most definitely.
Okay, and I do hope that this dredging will have some mitigation on future storms, and that we won't ever have that kind of damage to private property that happened at the library parking lot. And I wouldn't want to see that again. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Councillor Gentile, then President Albright.
So I had the same reaction that Councillor Norton had when I saw the price tag for this, because I remember doing this same project a couple of times in the past, and I always remembered it being under $1 million. And then I found out from asking some questions today that in fact, when we did this 10 years ago, it was only $450,000. And to see that it's climbed to $3 million, that's not very encouraging. I'm also hearing, as you just heard, that if we have another storm similar to the one in August, where we get a tremendous amount of rain in a short period of time, we're gonna see more flooding. And that's really, I'm not pointing that out to try and place blame. It's just frustrating that this is going to happen. And we're always reminded by Councilor Norton is that, we can expect more storms like that. So, and then the DEP, I believe, is the one, they recommend that this be done every 10 years. So if it was 450,000 10 years ago and it's 3 million today, what's it going to be in 10 years from now? So that got me to asking, is there a way that we can maybe take the $3 million and do something proactively upstream to reduce the amount of, silt and sediment? And as Ms. Sullivan pointed out to me, that you folks are looking into doing that, but the ponds still have to be dredged right now because there's so much stuff in them that has to come out. So it's really, there's no good news. And I don't know what the answer is, but I guess, as Council Leary was just saying, we need to continue to investigate and find out if there are things, like you just said, maybe more of a maintenance program on an annual basis. But I'm just hoping that we can come up with some kind of an idea, to try and reduce maybe the amount and the buildup, like we're dealing with right now. So I'll be all ears, but it really, it's an awful lot of money that could be used. And I know fortunately, the only good thing is that it's not coming out of, say, free cash or overlay or something. I mean, it is coming out of the stormwater fund, but we all know there's a lot of work to do and with other money from the stormwater fund that needs to go towards other projects. So anyway, I guess I'm just venting because, a lot of times when you have a situation like this, there's an obvious solution or at least something worth trying, but it doesn't appear to be right now, and we're destined to have to spend a lot more money, 10 years down the road.
No, thank you, Counselor. You brought up many good points, and we realize that, and that's why I said we're looking at other avenues. Again, this may be, like we said, a yearly maintenance project just to reduce some of that impact. And again, more of the stormwater work we do, the more will help with that infiltration, but we have a lot of work to do, as you all know, throughout the city.
Commissioner, if I could just quickly add on, much of this upstream watershed is private property in Newton Center and other parts of Newton. So really its implementation of our stormwater ordinance that you all passed will be critical in the years to come to keep stormwater on private property and to limit the amount of sediment that's rolling off of lawns and construction sites into our stormwater system and eventually into our ponds. So that is part of the future solution. Thanks.
Councilor Gentile, do you want to add more?
No, I think I was, I think I played Debbie Downer enough for tonight on this, so.
Okay, President Albright, you're up next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, do you know when the work is going to get done?
This work will start in the spring, most likely. We'd like to do it this winter, but we have probably we have to have this voted out, then the 20-day waiting period, then award, probably March, most likely it will start.
Okay, living as close as I do to the ponds, the ducks are often complaining to me that there's no place left for them in the ponds. So the sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any other comments or questions at this time. I do want to acknowledge, by the way, that we were joined by Councilor Dan Burke, so we have a full complement of both committees. Any other discussion, or if not, I will take a motion in the Finance Committee.
Move approval.
Motion to approve in Finance by Counselor Humphrey. Any other discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all those in favor on Finance, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We're 8-0 on that vote in Finance. Counselor Leary, do you want to take your vote?
Thank you, Councilor Grossman. So could I get a motion with the Public Facilities Committee?
I'll move, Madam.
Okay, Councilor Laredo has moved approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any nays? Okay, it's unanimous on Public Facilities. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. We are going to go on to item 375-23, Her Honor the Mayor requesting authorization to appropriate and expend for the Newton Center for Active Living project. Obviously, we have a number of members of the administration who are here to join us, as well as many interested members of the community and a lot of folks on here who have done a lot of hard work on this. So let me offer my thanks to all of you. Commissioner Morse, shall I turn it over to you first?
I think CFO Maureen Lemieux will kick things off.
Okay, Ms. Lemieux.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are pleased to be bringing this forward to you this evening. We're certainly very excited as an administration. We're excited for the city, this amount of people. The reason we are here this evening, I believe you all recall that the City Council has approved, I think it's $20.5 million, 20.5 for our New Cal project. That was approved approximately a year ago. In this past year, we all know what has happened with skyrocketing costs, inflation, construction costs, supply chain issues, and interest rates. We have known that this building was going to be more expensive than we had originally hoped that it would be. As you know, we bid it out back in September. Josh will walk you through all of that. That bid was substantially higher than we expected it to be. And so we went out to bid again, much like the prior project. We went out to bid again, hoping that we would do better. This time we actually did do significantly better than our bid amount in September. However, it's still substantially more than what we were originally hoping. The project cost now is estimated to be $30.5 million, so 30.5. I hope you all saw the memo from the mayor a little bit earlier today. We only opened the bids today. We could not get this information to you sooner than today. The one key thing that I want to make sure that everyone knows is this is not a surprise to us. Because we clearly had the other bids a few months ago. And so when we put the long range forecast together, we did have a contingency in our debt service numbers for this project, recognizing that it would probably come in at a higher amount than we had originally anticipated. So I just want to assure all of you before we even begin the dialogue that although it's more money than we would have liked it to be, we have made provisions for that in our financial plan. And so, Madam Chair, if I may, with that, I would like to turn it over to our Commissioner of Public Buildings, Josh Morse.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So I took a quick look at this. This is our 321st meeting of the New Cal project. So I will echo what Maureen said. A huge thank you to a ton of people. Many of them are on the call tonight. Close to 1,000 others are hopefully enjoying their evenings at home. We're coming up on 6 years working on this project. It has been a labor of love, and I appreciate the hard work again of so many people. Literally, each person has put in hundreds, if not thousands of hours on this project. So as Maureen mentioned, late summer, early fall, we put this project out to bid. We received one bid, and that came in at $29.9 million. That would have generated a total project budget of $38 million. We felt that it was certainly not competitive because there was only one bidder, but also not representative of the true cost of this project. As such, we went back to the drawing board and really worked hard to push and market this project throughout the entire Northeast region. So we reached out to over 50 general contractors throughout the Northeast, and over 100 file sub bid contractors. Those are the trades contractors. We saw a 28% increase in interest from the file sub bid contractors, and a 57% increase in the general contracting contractors. The challenge, though, is that it's not just getting people interested in a project; you need them to bid. The good news is we saw a significant response from our file sub bidders, all the trades contractors, which resulted in significant savings from the previous bid. And then following that up, with the general contractors, we thought we were going to get 3 bids as of last week. One of the contractors who we were hoping would bid and who had said they would landed a large job in Bridgewater. So we lost them, and we found out that actually this morning. So we had 2 bids today, one from Colantonio, contractor many of you probably know, and a huge thank you to them for the time they put into putting that bid together. And then another one from J&J Construction. They're a general contracting firm out of Billerica. They've done a lot of municipal work, town halls, school projects. They've even done some senior centers. So plenty of municipal experience. We did ample reference checks. There's a huge group of folks. Just I want to thank our department and our project team. We made thousands of phone calls and so many emails doing all the reference checks for all of these contractors. So they're a good outfit. We put that low bid together, and it generated the total project budget of $30.5 million. The backup in your backup that we submitted, it's got a breakdown in the same format that you see for our school projects that the comptroller's used to seeing. I'm happy to answer any and all questions about this, but I think overall the numbers are pretty straightforward. The good news, as Maureen mentioned, is that this represents $7.5 million less than what we would have had to have spent if we had accepted that previous bid. So it was a lot of work going back out to bid, and I appreciate the fact that folks are operating out of the swing space for a little bit longer, but their patience, I think, is certainly going to pay dividends here. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, I think this is the time for hands. Councillor Malachy.
Okay, I'll start. The docket item said you were going to open the bids on the 7th of December, and yet they were only open today, and it feels very rushed at this point, getting the amount the day of the meeting, and I don't have a sense of public reaction.
So
I don't know if the public even knows about this yet.
So thank you, Councillor. So we submitted a letter in the Friday packet that explained the situation and why we were pushing the bids off to today. So we had planned on opening the bids on the 7th. In communicating with the general contractors who had pre-qualified, it was determined to be advantageous to push that off to ensure that the contractors had time to submit their bids. I'm very glad we did decide to do that. And ultimately it yielded in us getting the bids that we got today. Had we not, we would not be having this conversation. So, well, we'd be having this conversation, but it would be a much higher number, and that I'm confident in.
So you're saying that, and which is the bid that you are accepting?
So the low bid, it was approximately $24 million submitted by J&J Contracting.
Okay. And you're saying that that's the one that came in today or something?
That is the one that came in today, yes. So in that letter, we identified that we pushed it off to December 11th at 10 a.m., which is today. We put the budget together and immediately submitted the backup through the clerk's office to the city council as we described in that letter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Norton, then Councillor Oliver.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. It's in Ward 2, so when we're ready, I'd like to move it.
I will consider that a motion to approve in finance, and you're also in public facilities, so that's Councillor Leary, your domain if you want to consider it a motion in public facilities as well. Councillor Oliver, then Councillor Humphrey.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. Perhaps just one quick, I guess, maybe it shouldn't be so quick. Question for Ms. Lemieux. So we've increased the bonding by 10 million. Am I reading that right?
We will be increasing it by 10 million, yes.
Fair enough. Okay, but that is the plan. Have you, I would assume you've looked at the impact that would have, how much of this was intended to be bonded originally?
Probably all of it. So 20.5 million. So it's an extra 10 million on a 30-year bond that translates into about $600,000 a year.
Right, for the duration of the bond.
Right.
Okay, ouch, right? 50% increase. Still supportive of the project, but wow. I'll just kind of play my Lenny or Councillor Gentile card there for a minute, but wow. Thanks. Looking forward to being able to support the project. Thank you.
Councillor Humphrey, then Laredo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Obviously very glad that we rebid it. I'm still hugely supportive of this project. I'm also glad that Councillor Oliver asked that question just ahead of me, because that is the same amount of money that we were trying to avoid bonding with Lincoln Elliott, and that it was going to create $600,000 in interest savings that we were then going to apply to NPS operations. So, do you want to elaborate on the impact of this? I'm not saying we had much choice. I'm just concerned.
I'm happy to. What the plan that we had with Lincoln Elliott still stands. We will still be taking that $10 million and not bonding 10 million for Lincoln Elliott. We've already added that 600,000 to the school department base budget as of this year, fiscal 24. That plan will continue to move forward. This New Cal will end up costing us in our bonding about $600,000 a year more. As I said, as we were preparing the long-range plan, we were recognizing that it was going to cost much more than we originally were hoping. And so I've built those numbers into our debt schedule.
And having built those in, I mean, where are we taking that money from somewhere else, or where, like, to pay for the new schedule?
Well, everything actually, in a sense, we are, Counselor, everything, it's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Whatever we have for revenue or whatever we expect for revenue, we spend. When we put the budgets together, it will come from probably an assortment of places where I can kind of tweak the numbers. My hope is that so some are easy. My hope is that the interest rates that we get will be a little bit less than I have in my model. So I'm hoping to shave some money off of there. When we go out to bond, because Newton is looked at so favorably in the financial community, we get a premium on our bonds. We get a cash payment of a premium on our bonds. We now take whatever that premium is, and we use that money to reduce the amount that we are bonding. And so those numbers have not been taken into account yet. So there's always a little bit of conservatism in what I put forward in the long-range plan, so that hopefully when we go out and sell bonds, now I don't typically expect that a building cost is going to increase by $10 million. But my typical expectation is that once we sell our bonds each year, that we end up with a number that is less expensive to us rather than more expensive. And so in the end, might we end up bonding a few less things along the way? The answer is yes. We've been fortunate that this year we had or the last 2 years, we've had substantial free cash. We know we are continuing to earn a tremendous amount of interest income this year. So those one-time funds will benefit us greatly in doing capital projects that we otherwise would have wanted to have done earlier.
So I guess there's probably 3 scenarios here. One is that we've talked in previous meetings about kind of unanticipated interest income in other areas, and maybe that ends up helping to offset this unexpected cost, which has kind of been my argument all along with that particular source of money, is that that's going to be canceled out essentially by other unanticipated cost rises in other areas like this. That's probably the best way of handling it, I would hope. The next scenario is that we're applying free cash to something else that we would have bonded in order to pay for this, but that means there's going to be we're going to have to, tap into the free cash on that. And then the third possibility, which you alluded to first, is unfortunately that we start cannibalizing across a dozen or 100 different things in other areas to find 50,000 here, 50,000 there, or whatever, until it adds up to 10 million, which is not great either. So I certainly hope that we're able to cover this with unanticipated interest income, but it's worrying, I think is the word that I will use. But I also, as I said earlier, this is, to my mind, one of the most important projects in the city right now. And I've been very enthusiastic about it from the beginning. So I understand that this was, not something that anybody wanted or anticipated. And it just kind of, this is how it went, because this is what a lot of communities are dealing with right now. But, I keep thinking about the default assumptions started getting to a point of assuming that the low interest environment was going to continue forever, and then it stopped, and then people keep assuming that it's going to go back to being low or near zero interest, and I'm just not that confident that it is going to. It might be less than it is now, but some of the long-term fiscal realities might have to be adjusted in terms of our assumptions that we might just be in kind of a higher interest environment for quite a long time, because we don't have any control over what the Federal Reserve decides is the policy going forward, and their priorities seem to have shifted from where it was after the 2008 recession for a long time. So anyway, I'm just sort of thinking out loud on that. But anyway, I certainly will still be supporting this, as I said. Thank you.
So, and Madam Chair, if I can just jump in and respond to that, Councillor Humphrey, my hope is, and my expectation is that cannibalizing department expenditures and other things to add up to the 10 million, I think is not what will happen to the degree that any of you may fear. I think I've been conservative on our interest rate projections for what it will cost us to sell the bonds. And as I said, the premiums are not part of my calculations. And we have a lot of bonding between Lincoln Elliott and NewCal. We have a lot of bonding that we're doing that are funds that will hit the general fund. And so I think those premiums will certainly benefit the city before we really start cannibalizing the project. So I certainly try to be very conservative when we do this.
And yes, I should clarify. I understand that it wasn't, you take a little things and add it up to 10 million. It would be more like that you take a certain amount each year from different departments to add up to the 600,000 essentially. But hopefully it doesn't come to that. All right. Thank you.
Councillor Laredo, then Councillor Leary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Commissioner Morris, can you just remind us, first of all, what the original bids were compared to this one? I just want to remember the difference.
Yeah, certainly order of magnitude. The original bid, this is just construction, was 29.9 million before, and this bid was 24 million.
And am I correct that we did not change in any fashion the scope of the project?
We did not. There were some technical specifications that allowed for a little more flexibility in how goods and materials were procured. But beyond some minor technical changes that was feedback we got from the contractors, there were no changes. Certainly nothing that people would see on the inside or outside of the building.
Good. Anticipated completion date?
So right now, we're saying I think what we put out is the spring/summer of it would be 25, but we're in working with the contractors, the general contractors, we were hearing different schedules with what they were comfortable with. So should this item pass, we'll sit down with our general contractor and start working on a project milestone schedule and get that update out to all of you and certainly the community as well.
So, this is a really good project. We all voted for it before. I think it's great. It's obviously unfortunate the costs have escalated significantly. I don't think we have any control over that whatsoever. Commissioner, you made, along with the administration, the right decision, obviously, to go back out and rebid it. We would be in a lot worse position if we had not done that. So that was a wise move. I am concerned about the fact that we have another $600,000 a year that we're going to be spending on this project that's not going to be available for other things. And Ms. Lemieux, I certainly appreciate you'll move things around in the budget, but regardless, it's $600,000 less that's available, whether it's for other bonding projects or the schools or something else. And that's just a fiscal reality. With that said, I think it's the right thing to do to go forward with this, period. So we should do so. And unless Councillor Norton is moved in our committee as well, that's great. If she hasn't, I'll be happy to move when the time comes. Thank you.
Councillor Leary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to echo the sentiments of our president-elect. And I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who worked on this project, particularly our Commissioner Morse and his team, and our CFO, Maureen Lemieux, and all the volunteers and all the work that went on in the mayor's office. I'm very grateful for that. And I know how long and how difficult a road it was. And I think that we, both our CFO and our commissioner, worked very hard to bring down what costs they could in a very difficult circumstance and a very difficult economic time. So I'm very grateful for that as well. And of course, I'm in full support of the project and look forward to voting for it. Thank you. And if I may, maybe I should, while I have the floor, see if I can, I will take Councilor Laredo's motion to approve and see if public facilities, and take a vote on public facilities.
We do have one more hand from Councillor Genta. I don't know if you
Okay, go right ahead.
Councillor Genta.
So I just want to share actually one good piece of news, a little different approach than on the previous item. And it's to pick up on an issue that Councillor Humphrey raised about interest income. For a completely different reason, I checked in with our comptroller earlier today, and he has numbers on our interest income just through October, so the first quarter of this year. And we had originally budgeted, and Maureen's explained why the number is what it is, and I fully accept the explanation, but we had budgeted $2.5 million in interest income. As of October the 31st, we had already realized $4.6 million. So not only have we already achieved what was budgeted, we're over $2 million ahead of what was budgeted. And if you play that out over the course of the year, we're going to be receiving interest income of in the $13 to $14 million range. So that is over $10 million higher than what we had budgeted. So that's good news. Now, I'm not suggesting that that money be taken and that we use the cash similar to what we did with Lincoln Elliott. It's just that I think it's a very good piece of news that people should have. And, it's a lot of money, and it's money that could be spent in any number of ways. And I'm sure that, there's there are things on the table to take a look at. And so maybe we don't have to spend $600,000 a year extra because, you know, how much higher the bids came in. So I just wanted to share that piece of information since Counselor Humphrey aptly brought it up.
Okay, we need to amend this item to make sure that we are adequately capturing the changes that we're being asked to make here. So Mr. Cudmore, if I could just ask you to share your screen with the recommended amendment language. Can you zoom in on that a bit? Okay, so the amended docket item here is before us. I don't know that we need to read this out loud. Counselor Norton, would you like to consider your motion first, a motion to amend to the language before us to adequately capture the amount of money that we need to increase our authorization, as well as the requisite language with respect to bonding?
Yes, looks like we should fix the typo in the top line, though.
What am I not seeing? Where's the typo?
Spend and $10 million.
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean not the title, the first line of the text. To appropriate and expend AN between expend and 10. Does this look good to everyone? Raise your hand if not. Okay, Counselor Norton.
Yes.
I guess I'll consider this in finance first. Is this a motion to amend the language before us?
Yeah, I can't make a motion to move as amended.
First we have to amend it.
Okay.
Okay,
Motion
so
to amend.
motion to amend to the language before us on the screen by Counselor Norton. Any discussion in finance? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? So that's 8-0. We now have the motion as amended before us. Counselor Norton, would you like to move approval of this item as amended?
I move approval.
Any other discussion before we vote in finance? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Counselor Leary, over to you. And then Finance Committee members, just remember at the conclusion of this item, we still have one more. Go ahead, Counselor Leary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in public facilities, could I get a motion to amend the language to what we're seeing on our screen?
So moved.
Motion to amend.
Okay, motion to amend. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any nays? Okay. And now, Councilor Laredo, earlier you had made a motion to approve. Could I get a motion to approve as amended?
Sure. Done. Motion
Okay.
to approve is amended.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye in public facilities.
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or any nays? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so I think the public facilities portion of the evening is complete. And I appreciate everybody joining. Thank you again for everyone on the screen for your participation and for many years of hard work and dedication to this very important project. We are going to move on in Finance Committee to our last item of the evening, and everyone is welcome to stay if you'd like. Certainly don't need to, and I expect that we're going to go into executive session in a moment. So there's not going to be much to see, assuming that my colleagues agree that's appropriate.
Yep. So we in public facilities, we can adjourn. And of course, if anyone else wants to join the Finance Committee meeting, but I will adjourn. Thank you very much.
Okay, good night to all who are leaving. And in finance, we are going to go on to item 417-23. Her Honor, the Mayor requesting the transfer of $50,000 from Street Division full-time wages to the account that is specified on our agenda, which is a workers' compensation and legal claims and settlements account in order to settle workers' compensation claim WC 003901. Hold on one second while I pull up my executive session checklist here. So obviously we have identified on our meeting notice and our agenda the purpose of this item and the executive session. I declare that discussing this item in an open session would have a detrimental effect on our ability, on our negotiating position, our bargaining position, our litigating position under the relevant chapters of the Massachusetts general law. And would like to know from my colleagues if there is a motion to go into executive session to discuss this item.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Kalis. Mr. Cudmore, can you take a roll call vote, please?
Councillor Oliver,
Aye.
Councillor Norton,
Aye.
Councillor Malachy,
Aye.
Councillor Gentile,
Aye.
Councillor Humphrey,
Aye.
Councillor Noel, Councillor Grossman,
Aye.
Councillor Kalis.
Aye.
Motion pass.
Okay, thank you. We are going to adjourn from executive session, which means we will not reconvene in an open session this evening. Colleagues, Mr. Cudmore is going to send you a link to your email with the link for executive session. And as I stated, there won't be a public session reconvening from there. So we will adjourn from there. See you all shortly. Thank you.